DM Dango here with another review from the DM's Guild. This time we're looking at Ring Out Wild Bells. I don't know about you, but the only bells I can think of are church bells, and they're not that wild. So, Ring Out Wild Bells, what are you getting here? This is an adventure module designed for 3 to 5 third level players. It should be able to complete it between 3 to 6 hours, and that's about right for kind of what I saw in the adventure module, so everything's accurate so far, which is a good sign. The module itself is designed to be something called an adventure on tap. Essentially, it's a way of saying, here's an adventure you could run with very little prep time. So, say an hour, if you had just before a session, you could very quickly whip this up, grab it, read it through, probably take you about 30 minutes, and then just run it. And for that, it succeeds very well. It's very well done in terms of structuring it in such a way that it's easy for a DM to pick up, look through everything, see all the key NPCs, see all the key encounters, and easily manage that very quickly with very little prep time for them. This specific adventure is designed around the roleplay pillar. Everything in the adventure can be kind of role-played around. There's no real explicit encounters unless the DM decides to do that and the players kind of want that kind of style encounters. In fact, the random encounter table that exists in this is kind of optional. You don't need to use it. You can if your players are kind of more of the hack and slash type and less of the let's talk our way through things type. So, on to the adventure itself. What is the hook here? How am I drawing my players in? Well, you're starting off with one way and you're kind of going to another. Now, there are potential hooks here to say you are part of this adventure. You are kind of a legacy of this problem, because that's what adventures do. They solve problems. Now, for the past 9 years during the White Pine Festival, the small town of Heron's Watch has been plagued by a wicked fey spirit known only as Mr. Grin. Mr. Grin will go into the town, and along with his little cadre of creatures called the Puka will harass and kind of generally play pranks on them for a day. And at the end of that day, mark one of these children's homes with a bit of holly. At the end of that, they will steal the child using fey magics, and then return them the next day as a lifeless statue made of coal, placed in a very specific spot. The adventurers originally come to the town for a number of reasons. Perhaps they are a historian documenting the undead army, the war with the undead army that occurred centuries ago. Perhaps instead they are a native of this town, sug on something 9 years past, maybe a brother or sister of one of these children that is taken. Any DM with a salt probably knows that Fae rarely do things without reason, and there is one here, but I'm being deliberately vague. That's the best part of this adventure, this kind of mystery that you need to solve. Why is Mr. Grin doing this? Is he simply mad, crazy, and just gone off his rocker as some Fae do? Or does he have a more sinister reason? Or perhaps it's a more benign, benevolent one. Maybe he's seeking vengeance for some reason, some slight the mortals have caused to him. Fae are weird and unusual creatures unto themselves. Not always evil, but rarely good. What did I think of the overall adventure? I really liked it. There was a lot here to kind of digest and look through. There was a lot here to kind of pull apart. The lore within it is really well steeped to kind of give you enough information to run every NPC, no matter which way your PCs tend to go. So for instance, all of the NPCs have backgrounds and kind of motivations, drives, ideals. All of the NPCs are runnable by a DM very quickly, based on their small sections in this adventure. And I say small because the whole document is only 16 pages long, which means that you can run it very quickly as a DM. If you're looking for something really quick to run for like a third level encounter, this is a really good choice. How the players solve this is kind of up to them. They can kill Mr. Grin, as some more hack and slash types are. They can investigate the town to find out the reason and the cause of Mr. Grin's malicious intent. But either are possible, and that's a good thing. It's nice to have choice and kind of less of a railroad, more of a like open field to play in. That's all kind of like the best parts of D&D, is to kind of have those multiple ways of completing everything. You don't have to kill everything in sight. You can reason with most things. So, on to things I liked. I liked the lore. I liked the way that it's built around. I like the fact that every NPC has a background with Ideal. I love the fact that there's extra bits that kind of exist. This war that is mentioned, all this stuff, the town's construction, how it was built, why it was built, all of this information in history gives you a very good grounding to allow you to roleplay everything in the town very well. Because you can mention things in passing from NPCs saying, oh, I remember the war, and I think there was one of those creatures left, those large bat-like wings that harried us while we were, fighting the undead scourge. It's nice to have those things. Things I didn't like, or things I thought could have been improved. Now, the one thing that I would mention here, everything else is really nice. I really like the map that was included, the nice little town map. Just gives you a good idea of understanding. But what I would have liked to see is a battle map for like kind of the major area and like the major encounter area. Because there is a potential area where there is very likely to be a battle incurred, basically higher than 50%. And the other one that I really would have liked to see is kind of imageries of the monsters and the creatures, like the unique ones that are presented. In an adventure like this, it's not necessary to have those things, but they are nice to get. They are nice to see because they allow players to have that, especially ones that are visual learners that don't necessarily take in audio descriptions as well as they do the visual kind of representation. And that's the thing. The audio descriptions are really well done. You get a real sense of what these creatures look like, how they act like, how they move from those descriptions. But a picture is really a nice kind of step up above that for a lot of people. Finally, on to my rating. What do I think about the various aspects of this? How would I rate this in my perk system? So with C, with combat, there's not a full little big focus here. There is a random encounter table, but that is completely optional. However, the random encounters that are presented are really interesting in terms of the way they're structured. It's nice to see things like, there's a random encounter I really liked where a brown bear is looking for her cub. And as part of that, if the players spot her and they kill her, because, players are like that sometimes, they can eventually run into a cub later on. Instant consequences to kind of understanding what happened and why that brown bear appeared and what they were doing. It kind of gives it's a gray answer. And I love gray answers. Gray answers are great in any kind of like role-playing game because there's no right or wrong. There's just, you did a thing. You might feel bad that you killed the bear, and you can make amends to do that. You can potentially adopt that brown bear cub, but it's not like the brown bear was going to stop unless you had a druid who can speak to animals. He was going, like, that brown bear, that female brown bear was always going to attack you, and you had no choice but to defend yourself, and you made the choice to kill it. And that's a great choice. It's really nice to see. So for combat, because it's not the focus here, there's some unique roleplay elements to the combats, which makes the roleplay section much better. But in terms of unique combat encounters, there really isn't anything interesting or special there. So I still like them. They're really well done for third level, so I'm going to give it a 4. Moving on from that, we have the roleplay section. I cannot give this anything but a 5. It is well done. All NPCs have really good ideals, really good backgrounds, really good setup and descriptions. They're really well structured, and it's really, really nice to see. Exploration. There is a lot to see in this adventure, even though it's only 16 pages. You have the town itself, you have outlying areas in the town, you have the forest, you have a bog, all of that stuff, and you have multiple avenues for completion and success. That's part of exploration, is to say, how many paths can I take to win? How many paths, not win, because you can't win D&D, but how many paths can I take to complete this adventure? How many paths can I take to actually say I have resolved it? And there are a lot here. There are simple ones that are on the surface, which are kind of good for like maybe beginner level D&D players who are just starting out and just going, well, I want to hack and slash my way through things. And then there's some more nuanced ones for the more experienced guys where they're like, well, they are tricky like this. Something's up. You don't just attack things randomly. And I like to see that. Now, finally, my P. So it's nice to have the map. It's nice to have everything. All the formatting is really well done. All the combat encounters that do exist are marked with a nice label to say how difficult is this encounter? How would you structure it? How bad can it get, basically? And all of that is there. The one distraction there is there's no imagery for the monsters. And I understand some of those art kind of like assets can be very expensive to get, especially for creatures that are very unique. And this one has 3 that I can think of. But they would have been kind of nice to have, and they would have pushed it a little higher. So I'm going to give it a 4 there as well. So that gives it a total score of 18, which we divide by 4 to get 4.5. 4.5 stars out of 5 is still very good, and I think it definitely earns those stars very, very comfortably. And then if you're looking for an adventure with heavy focus on roleplay, with more of a mystery element to it, and kind of like nothing is as it seems, with a good fey creature at low level, you can't really go wrong with Ring Out Wild Bells. So thank you for your time. Please do remember to leave a like and a comment and subscribe. And as always, peace out.